Hello, this is Andrine, a Jewish American priestess. And today I'm coming to you. We started the festival of Passover, the liberation from Mitzrayim, the narrow place. And we are in the first week of the Omer. The Omer is a counting that happens between Passover and Shavuot. And it is a counting of grain, barley, that is harvested during that period of time, 49 days, 7 weeks, 7 days times 7 weeks. And because of that, we use the lower 7 Sefirot to count in the tree of life. This week is the week of Chesed, which is love or loving kindness or compassion, which is why I have my hearts here. And we're going to do a full spread for the week of Chesed and see what we have in terms of a message for us coming to us from the divine regarding how do we manifest Chesed this week, the first week of the Omer, as we have left the bondage of Mitzrayim, the narrow place, and are heading right now toward Sinai for revelation. Let's give them a stir. See what love has for us today. All right, first off, we're going to take out all the Hebrunes that ended up face down in the reading. Some of them got stacked up here near the bottom, which is entirely fine. Actually, leave that one. That's the Insof. Let's see, those are all stacked up. Okay, wow, there's a lot of them here today. So let's take a look and see what we have. Maybe I'll zoom in a bit if I can adjust. Alrighty. So I'm going to start over here in the upper right corner because what we have in that corner is the Aleph. Aleph being the number 1, the very first letter of the alphabet, and it is kind of lying on its side. It's generally like this, but I can see it lying down here. And the Aleph being number 1 is this silent letter that just kind of is the breath, ha, it's kind of ah sound. And it is the mother letter of air and breath. So it speaks to that breath that's given to us by the divine, the oneness of the divine itself, and a balancing of above and below with that yud above and that yud below and the vav between, connecting each of those pieces. The aleph is up here telling us that we have breath, we have the ability to breathe, that we are living in a place right now in our lives where we have this magical space that's between water of above and the water below and the fire that gives us room to exist. And it's been given to us in love by the divine. Aleph over here in the right upper corner. And then as we move to the left here, down at the bottom we have the letter Chet. Chet is the first letter of the word Chesed, meaning love and loving kindness. And it's also the first letter of the word Chai, meaning life, and the word Choshek, meaning darkness. It's a little bit tipped over here on our reading, low down. So maybe there is this idea that there's something about life that's been turned on its head, that maybe Chesed may be challenging to access right now in the life, in the Chai. So, and we also have Choshek, which is again darkness. And darkness is an important part of life and of love itself. So maybe there's something here that we need to look at in terms of why it's upside down. Why is Chesed turned over? Why has life put us on our head? And are we sitting in darkness right now? Or is this an internal feeling of Chesed? Maybe we're needing to find some self-compassion right now. That seems resonant for me right now. So self-compassion may be really important in this week that we're in the midst of right now. Next in line here we have the letter Kaf, and Kaf is also upside down. It looks like this. Usually it's up like this, and it is representative of the palm of the hand. or the sole of a foot. It's about giving and receiving. And it is the first letter of the word koach, meaning power. It's the first letter of the word keter, meaning crown. So there's things to do with sovereignty. There are concepts about being oppressed. Again, since it's upside down, perhaps there is some oppression that's going on, or we've just escaped from oppression as we left our slavery in Mitzrayim. And it's also sometimes seen as the palm of the Shekhinah, raising us up, lifting us up, or sheltering us over as we are requiring shelter from anything that might be coming down upon our heads. So there's some kind of internal sovereignty or internal power. A little bit to the left and up above of that is the samech. The samech is the letter that is a circle or a cycle. It's some kind of surrounding. It's the first letter of the word sovev, meaning to be surrounded. And it speaks to boundaries which can be translated as gevurah, which will be next week, but also represents a day in the week of Chesed. So maybe there's some boundaries that we need to set up to make it possible for us to experience the compassion and the love that we need right now in this week. So power on its head. We have surrounding the boundaries here. Just below that is the dalet flipped over on its head. The dalet, which is a doorway, a birth canal, something through which we are leaving the womb and heading out into the desert again, upside down, that we've had this time where we've had to escape from something that has been oppressing us. And we have had to step through that doorway. Sometimes it can feel like a death. A birth can feel like a death, both to the mother and to the child. So something has been overturned, and there is some escape that's happening through a doorway. Oh my gosh, I'm going to zoom out for just a second so you can see what's happening over here on the left. We've got this huge conflagration happening in this little candle holder. Fortunately, it is a metal candle holder and it will contain that, goddess willing. So that's interesting that that's happening right now. In the middle of this reading, there's something about fire here, although I don't see the letter shin right off the bat in this reading. So, but we are between, like I said, we're between the water and the fire. So, and interestingly, I'll zoom out again so you can see this. Over on this side is my bowl of water. So we have water here, fire here, and air, olive in between. So something is up with that. Water and fire. And below these letters that we just went through, we have the letter He. And the letter He is the letter that means presence, hineni, being available and ready for service to the divine. Again, upside down, are we having some internal challenge around finding our way through to service of divinity right now? But we need to show up. It is an important piece of the puzzle. On top of that is the Ein Sof. He was leaning above it. The Ein Sof is the blank, the boundlessness, the endlessness, the void, that which is before all time and after all time. So leaning into the source, leaning into that blank space right now as we travel from one place to another. Sometimes hard to know what to do when we're in that empty space, but we are often in it. So be present is what I'm seeing. It's being supported by presence here with the Hineni as we've come through this doorway. A little bit to the left and lower, we have the letter Tav down at the bottom of this reading, the furthest down in the reading. The letter Tav is the last letter of the Hebrew alphabet. And to that end, it speaks to endings. We have an ending here. Again, totally upside down. So internal, maybe something's ending inside, that this liberation that we're experiencing may be something less physical for some of us than for others, and more internal. It's about completion. And it is the binary transformation of sovereignty and slavery. So we need to wrestle with where we are on that continuum between being slaves and becoming sovereign. So it's, and again, in this blank space, it's very difficult to know exactly where we stand. But it is the last letter, and so it speaks to endings, and at the same time, it speaks to a new beginning, because things always come in cycles and circles, like that Samekh up here, even if they're challenging. So Tav is the lowest letter in our reading, interestingly, Aleph being the first letter and the highest letter in our reading. In between that, we have the letter Yud. Yud is the first letter of the divine name, the Yud He Vav He, that contraction of the verbs to be in the past, present, and future. It's a seed, something that is beginning. So as we come to the end with the Tav, we have a new beginning with this seed and the Yud, which is the number 10. So the number 1 with the Aleph times 10 gives it this extra power, and it speaks to those 10 plagues that happened in Egypt, as well as the 10 commandments that are coming at Sinai. So the Yud is right here, close to the center of our reading, right after we exit through the doorway in that birth canal and head out into the wilderness. Above that, we have the letter Resh. Resh is the letter that means head. It's a Rosh, like Rosh Hashanah or Rosh Chodesh. It's a new beginning as well. So new beginnings are right here in the center of this reading. As we've moved on, we have to do this with the concept of loving kindness and compassion, knowing that the divine is with us in love as we move forward into whatever we're heading toward in this week of Chesed. Below the Resh is the letter Tet, and I'm going to set that above for the moment, but Tet is the letter that means a womb or a basket, some kind of vessel or container. Sometimes it's seen as a cup or even a snake. You can see it looks like a little bit like a snake head on the left there, and its tail curling around. And this is a symbol of the feminine divine, the snake is. The snake was used for healing in the wilderness, and the womb itself is that space where gestation happens. And we see this in so many different aspects in the stories that we've just come through, the 400 years in the slavery of Mitzrayim, like a womb through which we are birthed. And so gestation is happening even now, even after the Exodus has happened. Some new gestation is happening. Something new is being conceived of. Tet, which is the number 9, speaks to those 9 months of gestation in the human body. And it's right here under the Resh, saying something new is coming. And it's gestating right now underneath that Resh. To the left of the Resh, we have the Pei. Pei is the letter that means a mouth. It's the mouth of the divine, speaking creation into existence. It's the number 80 in Gematria, so it has this connotation of the number 8, which is the Chet over here, which is an infinity loop, times 10. So an ultimate manifestation of the infinite. And it is this spiral. The spiral that spirals infinitely in and infinitely out. It has this connotation with time in that aspect, the spiralinear time, which doesn't just go in one direction, but kind of circles around and comes back on itself. Pa'am, the word for time in Hebrew, begins with the letter Pei. Pei is, like I said, the mouth of the divine, speaking creation into existence. And the first letter of Torah is what's underneath it, Beit. And if you look at it, you can kind of see how the Beit would fit inside the Pei, as if that's the first letter coming out of the mouth of the divine in Torah, Bereshit, in the beginning. Bereshit, in the beginning. So we have new beginnings here again. These spiralings coming around, the infinity loop, the infinite here, the infinite down below, and the Beit coming out and saying it's time to build. Build a new house. Beit speaks to home. It speaks to a place where you can live. And it could be the body, that you're living inside your body or dwelling inside yourself. Or it could be the earth itself that we are dwelling in. Beit is the second letter of the alphabet, but it's the first letter of Torah. So we have the bait here sitting underneath the pei. The pei is about to speak. The bait is the first letter coming out of the mouth, saying, in the beginning. Some new beginning is coming after this. And then up in the upper left corner, the last letter in our reading today is the ayin. And the ayin is the letter that means an eye, being watched over by the divine. And it's the number 70, so it speaks to an ultimate completion. 7 days of creation times 10 is 70. And so some ultimate ending is coming, or something has come to an end. Like I said, with the tav down here at the bottom, we have these cycles and seasons that happen. We're being watched over regardless of where we are in this cycle. We have this 70 showing up in a variety of places in Torah, 70 descendants of Noah who come off the ark, which is that womb that floated in the water for 40 days and 40 nights of rain. There are 70 members of the tribe of Yaakov that come down to Egypt originally. And then once we get out into the wilderness, 70 elders that show up to help Moses to manage the people as they're wandering through the wilderness. 70 shows up in a variety of places with this idea of large groups of people coming together to create something new. It is also affiliated with the tribe of Dan, which means judgment. So there's something to do with judgment here as well, that once we can see things clearly, perhaps we'll be able to make appropriate decisions and judgments about things. As we're going through this week of Chesed, so much to consider here. The breath, the number one, that we have maybe a contract or a commitment down here with Chesed, with Chai, with Choshek, with life and love and darkness, all internally melding together inside of us, that there's power here, internal power, koach, that the Shekhinah is here sheltering us with her hand. We are surrounded with love. We are surrounded with support after having come through that doorway, that the infinite is here and it's supported by presence, that something has come to an end down low in our reading here, that the ending has come and it's time for a new beginning. A seed has been planted. The head is here, the Bereshit, that a gestation is happening in this beginning. The mouth of the divine is speaking a new world into existence with that bait, that Bereshit, that in the beginning word, and that we're coming out, being able to see more clearly and judge more fairly what it is we need to do next. And so for the week of Chesed, this is our reading for this first week of the Omer. And I'll be doing a reading every week of the Omer based on that week's Sephirah. This is the week of Chesed, loving kindness. Next week will be the week of Gevurah, strength and boundaries. I hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you here next time.